Hey, my friends, what's up? So, I've got a new pocket knife and I've had it for just a few days. This is the Gerber Shark Belly. And even though I've only had it for a short period of time, I've been using it and I just wanted to say a few words about it. At least my experience with this particular knife that I received. Uh, the first thing is, and I want to start with the blade, it has this, what they're calling a modern sheep foot. Maybe it's also could be referred to as maybe a slightly modified sheep foot, but it does have a nice tip to it, um, and it certainly is not a Warrenclyffe. And some people get this kind of sheep's foot kind of mixed up with a Warrenclyffe, and there's obvious differences. But this is just slightly different though than a traditional sheep's foot, but very close to it. So Gerber's calling it a modern sheep foot. So it's pretty cool. I do like the look and the design. It has a pretty good amount of edge. I mean, the cutting edge is pretty substantial. It's just slightly over like 4.5 inches in the closed position. So I mean, you do get quite a bit of handle purchase, but in relationships to the handle size, this is a pretty good cutting surface, or just the amount of edge you get. So we'll just kind of quickly compare, just so I can kind of give you maybe a better example of that. Here's a Delica 4 by Spyderco. Try to line up the end of the edge here with this edge here. So maybe I just pull that back just a little bit. But you can kind of see, you know, even though the handle is smaller, but the ricasso is a lot more. Of course, there's a ricasso here, and there's like no almost, well, there's a slight ricasso, but it's almost nothing compared to the ricasso on the Delica. But the handle is also smaller, but look how much more blade. Even though there's a very slight sweeping type of movement here, maybe just a slight belly, some people would call it, but you do get quite a bit of blade. So um, I like it. I like it a lot. I do like blades that the edge comes all the way back as far as possible. And that's one thing I always wish that the Delica would do, would just come back just a little bit more. Maybe like just cut that ricasso in half and just kind of come back a little more. That would be beneficial, you know. Um, some brands are more known for that than others. I know that Buck, for example, Buck is notorious on that. They have these very large ricassos, and they kind of push the edge up and back more than it probably really should be. Cold Steel on some of their models does that as well. But anyways, for the most part, it's just really nice. And you can see here that has the Gerber on there on the front. It's somewhat subtle. It's not like overbearing. You have this cutout slot, which actually continues to go back a little while. So here, I'll just unlock the blade, and as I unlock this here, you can see how when you close it, it actually conceals part of that cutout. So that's kind of interesting. On the back side, there's some information here. Made in the USA from Portland, Oregon, 420 high carbon steel, and there's this number here. I guess that's either a model number or something like that. And that's what the blade looks like. So it's not a very reflective blade. The only reason it looks like that because I have a light on this camera that's shining on it. But I'd say at the very most, it's maybe like a satin finish, in person. So it's not that shiny. It's pretty nice. Probably like well, it's a little bit more than an eggshell finish, so I'd probably definitely say it's a satin finish, but it's not not horrible. Now let's talk about the next thing I want to say is that the the torsion bar is very strong on this knife, at least the model that I got, and the torsion bar which pushes up on this particular piece here, which is called the rocker bar. And this rocker bar is just stiff as heck because of that torsion bar pushing against it. So that's the thing that I've been trying to break this knife in, just kind of getting it more used to kind of loosen it up because it is really, really, oh yeah, stiff. But I want to show you this as well. There's a half stop right here. Once again, I'll bring it down. You can hear it. Half stop, and I'll go ahead and close the knife and show you the half stop notch. If you look right in the dead in the middle, I'll go ahead and focus it in there. And right there, of course, you can see that little kind of cutout. That's your half stop. So when you're trying to open this, and it's getting easier to open one-handed. When I first got this knife, I could not open this one-handed because of that torsion bar was so stiff. It was ridiculous. I thought maybe there was a problem with the knife, and I mean, I've got strong hands. I do have large hands, and I don't have problems opening and closing knives at all. Never have. But when I got this, I was like, holy moly, it's very stiff. So you can kind of approach it in different ways. I naturally want to go right here and push outward this angle or in that direction. But with this knife, you kind of do better if you kind of choke down a little bit and push out just to overcome the force. Now, over time, I've noticed it's a little bit easier to kind of go up higher and push at an angle just because I'm starting to break it in. But I've opened and closed this well over 1,000 times now. No joke. I mean, my fingers are getting sore. I got some redness forming on my thumb, and so it's no joke. I've been trying to break this in. So I'll first open it from this lower angle, and you'll kind of see that there's not like a lot of an edge here, and it's not much room to really get your finger in. So I don't know about this whole design. I kind of don't prefer it, to be honest with you, but it can work if you work with it. So you kind of have to just take your pad of your thumb and bury it in there and get a nice purchase, kind of put a little pressure and push out, and you get the best results. And I guess you can just slide, once you hit this half stop, you can kind of just slide your hand down a little bit and push up. So I'll do it a little bit more fluid here, push out and up. And as you're going up, you can kind of bring your thumb down. Also in closing, I've noticed you can take the joint of your thumb, push this in, and then take your index finger, bring it down to the half stop, and just kind of bring your hands over and transition to a full close position. Now, in terms of opening it from a higher position of your thumb, you can do that as well at an angle. It just takes it feels like there's more pressure involved. And this is still very stiff. I'm not sure if I can, here, I'm just going to show you my thumb after doing that. See that? It's just a lot of tension. And I did test this out in stores for a few months before I bought it because I was kind of on the fence about it. I was kind of concerned about this whole design, but I just went ahead and did it. And I don't regret this purchase, but the ones that I tested in store were much easier to open and close. In fact, this is at least twice the tension than the ones that I tried in stores. I don't know, maybe the ones in the store just were broken in from people testing it or what, but this is just, it's actually kind of ridiculous. But it is getting slightly easier to open and close. So I'm just going to keep fooling with it and go with it. Now, I did try to adjust this pivot here, thinking maybe it was just too tight, but it was really just the torsion bar. But in the process of trying to adjust this, I literally broke 2 of my T6 bits. So my torque number 6 bits, I broke 2 of them. And it totally pisses me off, actually, that happened. One of my bits was just a generic bits, but another one came from a set that was kind of high end. And it actually broke it, and I was shocked. I've never broken any of those bits. So I would have to say that there's some pretty heavy-duty Loctite or something equivalent to it. I have not been able to budge this pivot point, and so I would say you might have to heat this up a little bit to break that Loctite or whatever's in there before you want to adjust it. And so yeah, so I'm gonna have to buy some new torque bits, but now I know. But I don't think that that's actually the problem. Once again, I think it's just the tension on the blade from this rocker bar, which is being it's under a lot of pressure from the torsion bar. So you kind of have like these different pieces kind of working against each other there. But once again, it is getting slightly easier. You can see there's a lot of resistance there, and it's not that great. It doesn't really like lock into your finger. So let me adjust this camera here, and I'll try to pull back and just show you that unless you get your thumb really digging in there, it's a real pain in the rear to open even now. So not the most enjoyable knife to open and close one-handed. Two-handed, if you have two hands, it's just a breeze. It doesn't seem like it's a problem. But if you just pull it out of the pocket casually just to open up something, you're going to have to really pay attention to opening it. And once again, it helps me to take the finger or the thumb here and push out. And I mean, that's in contrast to like a Spyderco. Here's like the Salt 1. And I can come at an angle. See, in this one, I'm actually doing this motion. Easily opens. And it's even smoother on these Delicas. I mean, it's ridiculous how easy these are to open. So, you know, when we get to a point that you're so used to these kind of, you get spoiled with these Spydercos, and then you get this with this awkward opening that doesn't give you really enough real estate to get your purchase on there so you can even get it out. And then you got all this tension, and it's just like, okay, well, how do you deal with it? You can go up higher, but you're going to just be really dragging and you may not be successful. Or you can go down lower and just get a launching push off and see how much you kind of just have better success and then just carry through. So anyways, let's go ahead and jump into now the handle. The handle is fairly unique, not so much in material, because it's just fiberglass reinforced nylon, but it has this pattern here on the bottom. Let me try to focus in on this. And you can kind of see there's this kind of like a traction. I'm gonna go ahead and close the knife just to be safe here, because I'm trying to film this looking through the viewfinder and I don't want to cut myself. And the knife is sharp. That is one thing I didn't talk about, but it came very, very sharp. It still is, even after just moderate use. So you can see this texturing. And basically what it is going on here is that when you are pulling back on this particular blade, you can feel a grip on you. But when you're going forward, you don't really feel any kind of grip. You can feel a texture, but it's not really grippy. It's only when you pull back. And they're calling this their shark skin grip. So that's kind of interesting. You can also see right here a little bit of wear, just because I've opened and closed it so many times trying to break in the knife, that it's starting to show a little bit of wear there. I thought that was interesting. This is only after 2 days. But once again, the knife is just trying to, trying to get to a position that is going to be comfortable to be used. You kind of have to just do things until you find that the knife is going to start to act like, you wish it. So there's the half stop right there. Inside there, you can see that. And then you can see right here that there is this, I call it ridging, and you can see it more pronounced when I open up the blade a little more here. But that's some ridging there. Some people might call it jimping, but that's to me more ridging. And there is none on the spine of the blade. I wish there was. But when you open this and you're in this position, you can feel this ridging and it works just fine. Now, if you choke up a little bit, you're not going to get any kind of extra grip. So I think this is probably going to be the optimum grip for this knife. Now, in terms of something that I had an issue with when I first got this, and I think it's just a fit and finish kind of issue, is that right here on the base of this handle, and I think that this whole scale is one piece, or maybe it was two pieces, but they maybe have welded it together. You can weld plastic together. So I think it is right now currently one piece. But there was this this flashing. I think that's the proper word for it, a flashing. So this plastic flashing that was left here in the center, and you don't see it now because I took some very fine sandpaper and spent like 2 to 3 minutes and carefully just sanded it away. And now it looks perfect. It does have a lanyard hole, And I mean, it's okay, the configuration. It's large enough to put parachute cord, so not a problem. I guess I just kind of like the simplicity of just an oversized round hole, you know. Um, this one's fine, but even something a little larger than what's on the Delica is kind of what I prefer, you know, if I was asked. Let's get out the Gerber order, and that's actually a pretty decent hole. So, you know, it just depends on what you like and stuff, but yeah, it's okay. And lastly, though, I just want to say that the rocker pin is pretty low key. It's blacked out, and the pocket clip is a deep carry pocket clip. So this thing totally can get just lost, you know, from the field of view. When you're carrying this, you don't see any of the knife. All you see is this clip. So it's really nice. And this clip is kind of touted as this no scratch clip. It's all rounded off, and you know, it's pleasant to touch because there's no sharp edges at all. And it seems like the wire clip is fairly nice. I mean, it hasn't had any problems when I put it in my pocket. It stayed where it's supposed to stay. So that's cool. And that's about all I have to say about the handle. It's, once again, only textured here and on the back side here with this so-called shark skin. Everything else, like this flats here, are really not that grippy. There's not really anything there. It's not slippery either, but it's not really grippy. So if you're looking at, you know, doing a lot of like heavy duty work and all this, maybe not the best option, you know. But just if you're just around town and you just need to do something, and you know, just a general light duty everyday task, this should be fine. Actually, I do need to kind of point out, see how difficult this is. It's just really not. Man, I really do hope that this lightens up soon, but it is not that easy to open. You can kind of see how thick this fiberglass reinforced nylon scales are. It doesn't really flex almost at all when you press on it. It's very, very stout. And the reason I'm showing you this is, or this angle, is that it doesn't have any liners in it. There's no steel liners in this handle. That's one of the reasons why it's 2.3 ounces. I mean, that's a big part of it. So that's pretty interesting stuff. Now, at this particular point, I just want to kind of make some more direct comparisons with other knives that are very well known. Here's the Spyderco Delica 4. And of course, pretty much the same size, just a little bit smaller is the Spyderco Salt 1. And I'll just trade over here. Here's the Delica 4 with the Emerson Wave. Pretty much the same size once again, but just I can kind of show you just overall, you know, blade and the handle size comparisons. These are so common these days. Now, this is the Sportsman 2, just to show you how small this handle is comparative. This is the Camper 2's handle. This one, of course, is a little larger than the Sportsman 2, but just to show you as well, the Victorinox, that's very common. So it's definitely a larger handle. Here is the Ka-Bar Dozer Hunter. I'll just go ahead and open it up for you. There. Here is the Spyderco Birdline. This is the Cara 2, which has been out for quite a while. I'm kind of surprised that there isn't a Cara 3 by now. But you can see the Cara 2 is a larger knife. But if you look here, I'm bringing it back so that the cutting edges are kind of like similar here. So here's the edge of the cutting edge, and if you go forward, you see that they're almost the same. You know, there's a little bit of a upsweep here, a little bit of a belly, if you want to call it that. So this blade, this Cara 2, is just a hair longer, just a hair more than this Gerber. But look at the handles. Let's just line up the handles from this point. Let me just pull this back just a hair. But from like this point to the back, and you can see how much there's just a little bit more of a handle there, roughly speaking. and it's almost the same blade. So kind of interesting. I think it's because of this forward choil here that makes kind of a difference there. But just another point of reference, another data point. Here is the Gerber order. I really like this knife a lot. There's a major difference. I'm going to just put it edge to edge here, and you can see the cutting edge is quite a bit different because of this forward choil here, and the handle on this particular Gerber order is just a hair smaller. I think it's like maybe like 1/10 of an inch smaller than the shark belly. So that's interesting. And then of course you have really small knife here. The Dragonfly, this is the first generation. I don't have a second generation. I think they're pretty cool though. And so you can see just how small it is. And then lastly, I'm just bringing in just because I have it here. And this is the Paraframe 1, a very common knife actually. And I like mine. It's a nice knife. Very inexpensive. And it's not the best made knife, but this is just another Gerber to show you size wise. And well, heck, why I have it out here? Here's the Ozark Trail. Let me get it out of the sheath. This is the 17-in-1, their newest multi-tool. I really like it a lot. If you're on a budget, it's cool. You can just kind of, I'll just show you the size of the handles. Actually, let me just show you one more. This is coming up in another separate review. This is a Leatherman rebar. I just picked this one up as well. I like this one quite a bit. And let me just move that out of the way and just show you the handle size. So it's a little bit bigger than the Leatherman rebar. So that's what I have for you today. The Gerber Shark Belly in all of its glory. So I have a link to this in the description box, as well as other links if you want to support the channel or if you just want to check out the knife just out of curiosity. So hey, that's what I have. Thanks for watching. You guys take care.